I'm Robin, and I'm a third year architecture student. And I've got another 4 years to go, but we're getting there. Yeah. So, it's very high tech. Okay. Do architects use maths? Yes, but not the really elaborate A-level style maths that you're used to. It's more just the kind of constant use of kind of tedious bits, like scale conversions is one. Like if you're working in 1 to 50, making that into 1 to 200, things like that. Nothing super difficult. Also anthropometrics, but that's actually quite interesting. Just making sure that people can actually use a space and you don't like make a bed in the tiniest corner so people can't get out of it. Just common sense basically, but yeah. Okay. Do architects need a license? Yes, you do. So there are two main bodies. So there's the RIBA and there's the ARB. Basically, I think the most common route to go down would be if you join like a RIBA certified course, then you do your bachelor's, and then you do something called a Part 1, which is basically like a year's work experience. And then you do your master's, and then you do your Part 2, which is another year in industry. And then you do a Part 3 exam, which I don't know quite what entails, but it's quite a long process. And then once you have all of those three kind of qualifications, then you can apply to join the ARB, which is the Architects Registration Board. So quite a long process, but yeah, it's illegal to call yourself an architect without actually joining the ARB, so don't do that. But yeah. Right, how do architects design houses? I mean, not just houses, anything. It's quite, it is a very long process. It's quite tedious, but it's also quite fun to do. I think the longest and probably the most important part is definitely the first part. So going to the site, speaking to clients, speaking to your tutors if you're in uni, basically doing a load of background check, background knowledge, trying to create a whole profile for what you're trying to create, lots of sketches. Then I like to kind of work by hand at first, just get everything down on paper, and then you can start to kind of put it into software. If it's like Photoshop or Illustrator, just something that you can quickly make changes, like respond to feedback, and then eventually produce some renders. Basically something that can communicate your whole design in like 3 or 4 pictures. So yeah. Right. What do architects do? It changes depending on who you actually talk to. A really kind of typical architect response would be they empower people to kind of influence their space and allow people to live the way that they want to live. Like often you hear phrases such as like form follows function, things like that. Basically, so we're not confined to 4 walls. We can actually live rather than just exist. But also they have a really important process through the whole climate mission. Because I don't think people realise that architects play such an important role in the finer details of buildings, like looking at just the build-up of any wall or floor. It's not just the order that materials go, but also what materials are used, kind of lowering like embodied carbon, things like that. There are also like different sectors of architecture, so you can have people working retrofit or adaptive reuse, passive house, yeah. there are loads of different branches, so you can choose whatever you fancy. But yeah, very broad and changes depending on who you talk to. Is architecture difficult? Yes, I have many, many sleepless nights. But it's worth it, or I think so anyway. You just have to be very, very passionate about it, because it's such a long course. Like on average, it's like 7 years to gain your full qualification. But it is hard work. I think one of the things I struggled with was the kind of repetition of it and the feedback that you get, because it's so subjective and it can be really annoying. Like you'll speak to one tutor or one client and they'll love it, and then you'll speak to someone else and they absolutely hate it. But you just kind of have to have almost like a sense of initiative. Like you just have to do it, basically. Obviously, you're not building a house for yourself, so just make sure you have background knowledge. But just do it. You'll get through it. It's fine. Can architecture make you rich? Sure. I think if you're in like the top 0.001%, yeah, go for it. But like typically people think of big corporations and like the star architects, but for your average, day-to-day working professional, it's like I think the pay is actually quite low for the amount of hours that you do work and the dedication that it takes. So yeah, maybe don't go into it if you want to make big bucks, but it's okay. There's also a discourse at the moment with like architecture interns or people doing their part 1 and part 2 who are basically being offered no pay experience from firms that really can't afford to pay you. It's just they want to exploit you, so just don't feed into that. It's stupid. And get paid. Do architects still draw things? Yes. It's the most important in the initial stages, and that's not saying you have to be an amazing sketcher, drawer. I am pretty bad, but yeah, it's really useful to get across an idea to a client or quickly make changes, even if it just looks like scribbles on a paper, as long as you understand it and they can in some sense understand it. Just getting everything onto paper to convey your ideas. But yeah, also it's a good skill to have. So just practice as much as you can and it will definitely help you. What do architects use to make models? Literally everything and everything. So I study in Sheffield, so they're quite environmentally forward university, so they always encourage us to use recycled materials. Lots of Amazon boxes. I have like a massive stack of just cardboard in my room, so definitely save everything that you have, because you will need it for a model at some point. But yeah, a lot of people use things like balsa wood because it's really easy to cut. If you need little model trees, just go outside and pick a twig off the ground, like it does the job. Yeah, I think it changes, obviously. If you actually start in a firm, they'll probably have some more specialist equipment. But yeah, sticks and cardboard, basically. Who is the most famous architect? Big question. I don't even know. I think it depends on your exposure to architecture. Because sometimes it's just easier for someone who doesn't have like a massive background knowledge to kind of identify the buildings more than the people. But there are definitely some names that keep popping up like Norman Foster and Zaha Hadid and Le Corbusier and things like that. But yeah, I don't know. Big question. AutoCAD or Revit? Revit, I cannot stress this enough. Why would you learn AutoCAD when Revit can literally do plans and sections, and you can plug it into like a rendering software, get some really nice visuals. It takes a bit longer to learn, but it's so much better. Just go straight to Revit, that's fine. Thanks for watching. It's been really fun to do, so thank you for having me. And yeah, I hope it's helped you learn a bit more about architects and architecture and everything. And yeah.